Hello, and welcome back to a new episode of the Earth Initiation Podcast. I am currently filming this, recording this. I think it's December 17th. Yes, December 17th. Um, I have been very deep in guiding the Seeds of Gold Challenge, which is all about making decisions in alignment with our soul's vision for our life, really, at the core, with a focus specifically on anchoring the soul's blueprint for prosperity. So making like getting connected to that prosperity frequency that is unique to your soul, learning how it impacts what I call the prosperity pillars, which are joy and your health, your relationships, and of course, money and making decisions from that. This is not an episode about the Seeds of Gold challenge, but I've just been so focused on that. And every time I lead a group of people through something or I have a new offering to the world, I go through my own upgrades around it. So this has been a very intense challenge for me to lead because I've enjoyed every second of it, honestly, just supporting the wonderful, wonderful people that are inside the challenge. But also, I have been going through so many initiations and upgrades. I guess I would call it upgrades in my perspective on life and how I feel on the inside of my body, how I'm relating to my life. Um, which I'll get into maybe a little bit in this episode and probably I'll unpack it in the future. But basically, I've just needed to take a pause from everything and I haven't felt like recording podcast episodes, which is super rare for me. Since I started this podcast, I've been like busting at the seams, like with messages and things I want to share. And this has been a very much an inner time for me to process and just kind of recalibrate my relationship to, well, everything, like including my business, how I'm relating to my business and the services that I offer and the podcast and everything, and just making sure have like clean intentions is what I'm calling it. I have pure intentions behind what I'm doing, and it is coming from my heart instead of wounded places. And you'd be surprised how often our survival self and our wounded self and the past versions of us that are scared can hijack even the most lovingly intended things. And so this episode really is about 2026. We're about to start the calendar year 2026. The energetic new year does not start until around February or March. There's a lot of different thoughts about that. But for all intents and purposes, there is a version of you, including your body, that has existed within the time calibration, I guess is what we'll call it, that the new year starts on January 1st, 2026. So if that doesn't mean anything to you, don't worry about it. Like some people will know what I'm talking about, where it's like there's this whole debate on like when does the new year actually start? A lot of people argue it is sometime around spring because that's when renewal comes back into the northern hemisphere at least. But you could also like, yeah, there's a lot of things you could look at that. That's not what this is about. But what this is about, and my Seeds of Gold challenge was really about helping the people that are in that challenge to plant the seeds of gold for the year of 2026 with their soul's prosperity frequency. So it's just like amazing on so many levels. And I really think I'm going to do this challenge again next year. Um, make it a yearly thing. So make sure you're on my email list. I guess I'll put a link to that here in the show notes. To always just make sure you're staying up to date with what I'm doing. And of course, I will announce that challenge and any other challenges I might be doing throughout the year in 2026 to my email list. I usually do a podcast episode too. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you can subscribe. Just make sure you're following and all that good stuff. But I really wanted to do something for everybody else that maybe didn't sign up for their challenge, but is also very much interested in the things that I have to say and the topics that I share. And I just genuinely want to help people have the best experience that they can have that is meant for them in 2026. And so that's what this is about. And so a lot of the things that I am coming to speak about are things that I've been realizing and just getting clear on from the Seeds of Gold challenge, myself leading people through that, which isn't necessarily important to you. I don't know why I keep rambling about that. I guess I'm so excited about it and how it's changed my life. And I think that, I guess that's where it translates to all of you if you haven't been in the challenge. Like, what we're practicing inside the challenge is very specific and unique, but the overarching theme is the difference that can happen in our lives when we are making decisions from our soul self, from the version of us that's outside of the current circumstances and the emotions and the challenges that we are currently going through, versus making decisions from within those things. And that's what this episode is really about, and the invitation to, in order to have the best experience, again, that's possible for you in 2026. I wholeheartedly believe that that only comes from making decisions from that pure-hearted, clean, energetic space, that isn't kind of, I don't want to use the word tainted because yeah, it's not a judgmental thing that it's bad or wrong to be making decisions from within your current circumstances or within your wounded patterning. Or honestly, a lot of people are doing this and they're just really not aware of it. Even if they are highly aware, they aren't aware of like what is actually motivating their decisions. And a lot of times it is wounds and avoiding pain and avoiding fear and the past, kind of leaching into what they're deciding in the present moment. And when we do that, we repeat cycles. We repeat the past, we repeat the fears. That's not to say that it's going to look exactly like the things that have happened to you previously, but I think it's somewhere they say like the history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. I think that's more what's happening here is like we're just because we're making decisions from within our current circumstances and getting caught up in the emotions of the moment, it can be very, very hard to pull ourselves outside of that to a different perspective to actually see what's the highest path. And one of the things that has been coming up a lot for me, and I think a lot of the participants in the challenge too, is this idea of like sometimes resistance and fear and hard emotions or things you don't want to experience, like shame, that can actually be the path. And sometimes the fear, the resistance, the shame, or like anything there, like fill in the blank, is actually signifying you need to walk away and move away from that. That's not your path. And I think this is why we have so many people that are questioning and doubting their path. They're like, am I on the right path? Because I keep trying to put effort towards something that I think it's going to look like, right? What I think I want, what I think I need. But we're doing that from within this current circumstances. We're making our goals and our New Year's resolutions from within our current circumstances. And not, most of us are not tapping into like, so again, something that's outside of it that can give you a clearer perspective of like, okay, I know this feels really hard, but you actually do need to lean into it. That is your path, and let me guide you, and like here's some things for how you navigate that. Or you need to walk away. That is discernment. What we're talking about is discernment, and discernment is a feeling. So anytime you're like feeling that lost energy of like, is this right for me? I don't know. It's not working out the way my mind thought it was, my ego thought it was. Does that mean it's the right path or the wrong path? Does that mean you need to change your intentions? Does that mean you need to go heal something? These are questions that can only be answered when you have your heart open and you have clear discernment, which is a heart-based energy. It is kind of unity between the logical mind and the feeling emotional body. And a lot of times we get caught up in making decisions from either one of those. We're being very logical about how we're viewing our life and making decisions from that place, or we're being really emotional and we're making decisions from that place. And most decisions actually are emotional based, right? Your goals, your aspirations, your New Year's resolutions, the things you want to change about you is probably so you can feel something different in your life. Yeah. There's a feeling behind that, that you are seeking. Ugh, and there's so much I could say about that, but when we're seeking a feeling, it automatically assumes lack. This is getting a little advanced, but I'm being called to talk about it for whatever reason. When you're making emotional decisions like I want joy, you are also at the same time affirming lack of joy in the present moment. So you are tying actions and outcomes to that emotion. So like if you're like I want more health or I want more happiness in my life, you're a lot of times affirming lack unless you're very, very conscious about it. And how you're going about that. So, I sometimes I hesitate to say these things because I think they can cause overthinking. I think they can cause doubt and they can cause fear to come up. Like, oh no, have I been making my decisions from the wrong place? And I don't want to be affirming lack in my life through my decision making. Like, we have to time out and pause with all of that and realize that this is the journey of being human. And, what I would say if you're like in that space when I talk about these things, that you need to make peace with learning, experimentation, mistakes. And this ultimately goes back to discernment. Uh, so we have to have a good relationship to our emotions to have clear discernment of like, do I actually need to change anything about the way I'm making my decisions or not? Do I need to change anything about how I'm setting my goals or my New Year's intentions? That all comes from having a good relationship to your emotions. So if you're like, wow, I don't know, this has brought up a lot of fear in me, maybe the invitation here is to have something related to befriending or partnering with your emotions in 2026 as a focus for you. Because really, that's what we're talking about. Where are you focusing your energy? And it's not just a one-time deal where we set a New Year's goal or intention or resolution and then we never revisit it. Actually, when we set a New Year's goal, intention, resolution, whatever you want to call it, that will be active for the entire calendar year of, 2026, for example. Even if, say, there's this whole thing of like most people let go of their goals and their resolutions by February. I don't know. There's like some date like February 15th. I don't know. But that's actually not true. What ended up happening for those people is that the energetics behind their decision to have that goal or that intention started to come to fruition. It started to show them what they were really asking for, or both. It was showing them the path to actually get to that thing. And it became too hard. And so they abandon it or they sabotage it when really the abandonment, the sabotage is actually, if they were to lean in and work with that energy, would actually get them to the outcome they want. So I guess that's one thing I want to tell you for peace of mind. It actually, on one level, it doesn't matter what your motivations are or how clean or pure your intentions are for your life, if they're coming from your wounded mind or your soul self. On one level, it actually does not matter at all if you are willing to stay in dialogue with life, be curious about your circumstances, Stop taking failures and hardships and challenges personally, like you have done something wrong or you are wrong, and instead being like, what is life trying to show me for this through this? So I want to give you an example from my own life because my soul loves to do that. My word for 2025, my intentions, and I've been very intentional with my decision making and how like the energy I'm putting into things and the things I'm focusing on. And my word was satisfaction this year. And so this year has led me to experience, first of all, everything that was standing in the way of me experiencing satisfaction. Ooh, yeah, like lots of things that I won't get into here because it doesn't honestly matter. But I guess this is more of like the mechanics of how it works. So I even said, and that was an intention that came from my heart, my soul. It was not my mind's intention. Um, and so you're still going to meet challenges. You're still going to meet all of the things that are standing in the way of you experiencing the pure energy of that. We can have a lot of old stories, um, karma, past life trauma, genetic patterns, and current life traumas and challenges and heartbreaks around the word that you choose. So, like with satisfaction, I'm trying to think of like one small example I can share with you. So the opposite of satisfaction is like frustration. So I really started paying attention all the things that were really frustrating. And there were things in my life in my business, in the offers that I was doing that were really frustrating me. And I really had to take a good look at those things because just because they're frustrating me does not mean they aren't actually leading me to satisfaction. So this is how I engage with things on a real basis, real time basis. This is how I apply these tools in my own life. And this is what it means to have discernment because most people are like, well, if you're frustrated, that probably means it's the wrong path. You need to walk away. Maybe, maybe not. That also might be what I call a nervous system reversal, where for whatever reason, again, past life, karma, genetic trauma, like all these things, all these different factors, in this life too, things you've experienced in this life that have made it so that your nervous system actually has reversed the relationship with the pure energy of satisfaction, for example. So making it so that when I'm asking for satisfaction, because my particular belief is the second you ask for an energy, it's like ask and you shall receive. Literally, there's no lag time between that energy starting to come in your life and you asking for it. And you are going to be initiated. I call these are initiations, right? You are being led on an initiatory path to actually have satisfaction in your life. Because if you don't have satisfaction in your life, and it's not that I didn't have any satisfaction, but clearly that was something I need to purify my relationship around and like what truly makes me, Emily, authentically satisfied. Because there's a lot of things that I thought I would satisfy me that I was chasing that were actually like societal pressures on my life or like, yeah, things that I picked up from social media or just other pressures before social media existed, mainly societal pressures of like, what should I be? What will satisfy me in my life, right? The American dream that may or may not satisfy people, right? And that's why so many people work their asses off and they get to the top of their game or whatever. They achieve the big goal. They're standing on the mountain and they're not fucking satisfied. So I had to just unpack. You are going on an initiatory journey, and that's what people don't get with their New Year's resolutions and their goals. It's not this like linear thing that people are treating it. Although you can treat it that way. And there's a lot I could say about that, but that's for another episode. Um, so back to my story, I've been met with every single little thing where I have believed in satisfaction was one thing, and my soul was trying to educate me and my nervous system that no, it's actually this thing over here. But when you're engaging with this thing over here, it feels terrible to you because of those nervous system reversals, because you have lived for so many years or possibly generations in your DNA in opposition to that. Like that was the uncomfortable thing, it was the unknown thing. And so we learn to find satisfaction within our current circumstances or what is accepted by society. And that's what we and started to train ourselves. I'm talking about myself and my maybe my genetics. We trained ourselves, the royal we, to find satisfaction with it, with what we could do. And that's a survival strategy. Can you see that? And so when we are asking, especially from the heart and the soul, to like, well, I want real satisfaction in my life. Okay, well, then you are going on an initiatory path and journey to finding what that really means for you. And so, like, yeah, the challenges will start to come immediately to purify that for you, to have help you get into a clear relationship with what really will satisfy you, was in my case, right? This is just my example. And you know what's really fucking cool is like sitting in December being like, wow, because I have leaned in to all those triggers, all of those patterns, and found the emotions behind it and made decisions to walk away from certain things, made decisions to go towards certain things, based on my journey and just staying connected to my heart, trusting that path. So a lot of people lose trust in their focus, their vision, their goals, their intentions the second they start to hit these challenges. And it's like, no, those are the things that are actually here to show you what that energy really means. And so sometimes it could be like, wow, I better be careful what I wish for because you will be taken on an initiatory path. But we're living in times we cannot shy away from that. We are living in times we cannot shy away from that for a variety of reasons. I never want to be the person that is fear mongering or creating false urgency in your life. But I think we all sense this like palpable energy of like the way we are living in society is at an all-time emotional high. It is not sustainable in many, many, many ways, regardless of your opinions on like the climate and all of that. I do want to do a video about that because I have some very interesting opinions about that. Actually, the ocean tells me these things, which is one of my favorite things. And I just booked my trip to, I go to see the ocean at least a couple times a year, but every year in March I go to Hawaii and I get the most amazing messages from the ocean and I'm going back. Anyways, okay, I digress. So maybe that's when I'll be doing my messages from the ocean about climate and what we can relate to. But it really starts with sustainable inner worlds. And so we can't be shying away from the hard initiations anymore because life it's putting it in our face because our survival strategies and our patterns have created unsustainability. Because when we are acting from survival from within the wound, we just reinforce that because really life is asking us to find a better way. But the better way doesn't come from running away or avoiding what's here in the present moment. It comes from meeting it directly. And this is a core message through everything, right? I'm always saying like your triggers are your portals to power, right? If I would have stopped this year the second I met all this frustration and been like, what the fuck? I wanted satisfaction this year, and all I'm getting is frustration. All I'm getting is bitterness. All I'm getting is resentment. What the fuck? Um, I would not be sitting here like being like, whoa, I have so much just like it's a level of satisfaction in my being that nothing in the external, no person, no situation, no world collapse or event can take away from me. I feel satisfied on the inside, no matter what happens in my business. Like, it's really, really, really profound. And then when we hold those energies within us, right? I hold this energy of satisfaction in my cells. I've been working all year to develop a good relationship to the real energy of satisfaction so that I can embody it in every single one of my cells, meaning I can feel that on demand almost. I won't say all the time, but like I feel satisfaction in my life without having to go and achieve anything. And so that's the difference between a soul-based intention for your life and a mind-based intention in your life. Mind-based intentions are usually like, I want to make $1 million, I want a new car, I want cool clothes, I want to lose weight, all the stuff that is typically pushed around New Year's. Like I'll just fill in the blank with all the stuff, right? And my soul's plea to you, right? I honor your path and your journey. And if you want, like, there's nothing wrong. We're not passing judgment on wanting the cars, the fancy clothes, or the million followers, or whatever your ego wants. But just know those are ego desires. They will eventually lead you to a place where you will be forced to look at your heart or not, and you will just be incredibly miserable on the inside, which again is why so many people reach the top of their game, top of their profession, and they are like miserable on the inside. This is not a new story, and it's because they haven't been making decisions from heart. And this our entire world is that is what it's built on. And it's crumbling, it's collapsing because it's not sustainable. And so that's not to say even for me that I won't have the same things that my mind has always wanted, but my soul has been like, yeah, but if you want to have it in a sustainable way that is loving, compassionate, is it is just like it's good for me in this moment and it's good for other generations, right? That just like I don't know what I mean, prosperity, right? That's the word that kind of comes to my mind. Like it's prosperous for me and it's prosperous for all because we are all in this together kind of thing. It comes from a very clean place energetically, and I can create that from within, being having access to that frequency. I'm not lacking it, right? I'm not choosing it out of lack or chasing it out of lack. I'm actually feeling satisfied on the inside. So I know when I make my decisions from this place, I am going to get satisfaction on the other side of those. So we often have it backwards. A lot of times it's like, well, if you want the outcome, you want the emotional outcome that is attached to that, right? So maybe my goal to have a successful business, for example, the energy behind it might have been satisfaction that was driving that. So my soul said, like, let's cut off all the bullshit and let's just focus on satisfaction, you getting a good relationship to that, you being able to feel that without all these conditions attached to it. And then let's see what you create from there. So I'm like, fucking jazzed for 2026. I'm like, yeah, let's go. And I just sat down and did a meditative journey that I have recorded that is going to be available for purchase. And I'm going to do a thing where it's going to be pretty reasonable in terms of prices. I'm just going to charge the amount. I haven't decided the price, but I'm going to charge the amount of the energy that's required for you to put in for you to get a good result. So that's how I price my stuff now. It's all on energetics. It's not about gouging you. It's just like, what is the investment required for you to get a good result on the other end? But the other thing I'm doing is that you can buy the recording, but you have to watch it before January, the end of January. So it's even though it's going to be low priced, it's not like you can, because most people will just let it sit around forever. Like, no, this recording goes away after the end of January, even if you paid for it. And that's how I'm doing it. Because it's like, we really want you to use this, utilize it, so you can start your year off on with the focus that your soul wants you to have, because your soul can see the whole big picture of your life that you can't see right now. It can see all the pieces of the past that you haven't put together yet. And so, what I started this episode wanting to talk about, that this the moment I surrendered what my ego thought. This happened 2 years ago around New Year's. I was ironically, and I've told this story on many different episodes, but I was feeling so frustrated with my healing journey and my progress. And like I felt so different on the inside, but my external reality hadn't changed that much. So I felt different, but it didn't translate to a change in, yeah, my life that I was hoping for. And so what I ended up having to do was just like, all right, clearly I don't know what I should be focusing on here. And in those moments of frustration, I let go of what my ego thought I should be focused on and what I should be working on, which was usually just like the trigger of the day, right? And so I talk about this in terms of even the decision to book a healing session, for example. And for me, like, I want to work on this particular aspect of me that's coming up right now. Like, just for, example's sake, maybe I'm like feeling frustrated. So I would go to like my support team, my healer, and be like, let's work through this frustration. No, because you're just picking and choosing things from within the wound, within. And that's not to say that like we can be very driven by our problems and solving them, but to step outside of that and have something else and say, no, you should actually really be focused on this, which was opening your heart. That's what my soul was trying to tell me to do, and now I know that. Um, And honestly, even satisfaction, the journey towards satisfaction has been a journey of humbling my heart. Um, so there's gonna be some dog barking, I think. Anyways, we're gonna keep going. What I want to say is that that's when everything changed for me, is when I stopped making decisions from my ego space, from my mind space, what I thought was right, what I thought I needed to be doing, what I thought my problems were. And the minute I surrendered that and just said, okay, fine, clearly I don't know what's going on here because I'm addressing my limiting beliefs and I'm doing all this stuff and it's not working the way I've been promised. And so I'm pissed off, I'm frustrated, I'm bitter, I'm resentful. Show me what I'm doing wrong was kind of like the energy behind it. And it was in that surrendering that everything that I teach now is coming from, really. And it led me on a journey to befriending all of my emotions and doing real emotional healing work, being present with my emotions, getting to I guess like dissolve the fear around my emotions and also have a better relationship with my heart, a better relationship with my body, and letting go of control. Those are some of the themes that I've been exploring. But my mind is still sometimes, but especially that first year, would really fight it and be like, yeah, but I told you I wanted to lose weight, or I told you I wanted to hit this milestone with money. And here you are asking me to go work on my anger. I don't want to fucking do that. I don't want to go sit with all these hard emotions. I want my outcome. That's the ego at play. That's the wounded ego that just wants the result without the cultivating the power to have the result, right? Or the maturity to hold the power of the result. And that's what we've got going on here is we have a lot of people with power that are making decisions from wounded places. Like we are very powerful beings. All of us humans have amazing power, and some of us have been able to tap into that from a place of a closed heart and be able to achieve some amazing things. But again, they will always be unsustainable. They will always crumble at the end of the day because they have no their heart is not the heart is not open and in it. And so every single like lasting solution that you're craving for any type of problem in your life, I'm not talking about a quick fix that just makes it all go away. I'm talking about rewiring the very foundation upon which you stand so that no matter what's happening in your life, you have a focus and a trajectory that is going to support you in the long run. So we're talking about like focused on the short term versus long term. And we are just being called to really focus on the long term for ourselves and other people and like the earth itself. You know, humanity is kind of in a dire situation in a lot of different ways. We have just been operating unsustainably for so long. And again, I want to take the right wrong out of this because honestly, we all have been a part of that unsustainability. And again, this has nothing to do with climate. So even if you like are voting for all the climate change policies and you're recycling and all of that, this is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about making decisions from your soul and your heart and what and focusing on the things that are actually going to move the needle forward and letting go of all of our human-based goals. Almost. That's not to say like your soul's never going to put you through something where you can't handle it, right? So some of these initiatory paths are hard. Mine has been incredibly hard. But that's because I fought it and I didn't want to do it and I wanted to hold on to that ego stuff. And so I think a lot of things that are just really hard right now is us just gripping onto things that just don't work anymore. So, um, yeah, my soul is just really, my ego is a little bit uncomfortable with saying these things because again, I don't ever want to be fear mongering, but this is very dire. We are talking about the survival of the human species here. If humans continue at our current way of operating, it's not gonna work out well for humanity. And you know, the interesting thing is through the work that I've done, I don't have a lot of fear around any outcome. And well, I mean, I have fear around outcomes, but not the outcome of like humanity doesn't go on. It's like I'm at peace with that. That could happen. And I think for a lot of you, that might be a huge trigger, right? So this isn't about saving the world. That's what you have to make peace with to get out of that rescuer dynamic, which is episode 5, by the way. Always referring people back to that rescuer dynamic. We're not here to save the world. We're not here to save the earth, save the planet, save humanity even. We're just here to um it's like I don't know how to describe it in words yet. It's a totally different energy where again, where you're at peace. Like if humanity decides collectively to continue down this path altogether, of avoiding emotions and making decisions from the wounded ego and just repeating the patterns of the past, then you know the soul's eternal. You will continue on, but humanity as a gift to the universe, that species may not exist anymore. And so this is what's at stake. And so that's why my soul's asking me to talk about it. Like this is what is at stake. It's they're high stakes here, and it's also okay. Like life will go on, the world will go on. This isn't about saving anything. Like your soul will go on. It's just about like celebrating and respecting all of the creations of life, I guess is the way I want to articulate it. Of like, wow, humanity's so special, and it would be really just sad if they weren't part of the fabric of the universe anymore, if they were to go extinct. And we have the power to change it and change it very quickly. And we don't need, like, as I can know some people are already in this headspace of like, yeah, but I can't control other people. And there's so many people that just don't fucking care. Yeah, but here's the amazing thing is when your heart is open and you are focused on the right things, you have infinitely more power than a person that is in their wounded cycles because you've matured to hold that power. So I kind of started talking about that a little bit. The initiatory paths are paths for you to mature into the version of you that can hold that power, right? So when I say I want satisfaction in my life, I had to mature into the version of me that could actually find satisfaction authentically, genuinely. Not in a wounded way where I'm like satisfied because maybe I'm better than other people or I'm competing and I'm winning and all of those like drama-based dynamics. No, just like authentic satisfaction. I'm satisfied with who I am and where I'm headed. Like, so I know this is kind of like doom and gloom a little bit, but it's more to just express like the gravity, to speak to your heart of like, it's time to prioritize this. It's time to prioritize this. And you can be part of one of the most amazing fucking comeback stories of all time, by the way. Um, which my soul I get my maybe my wounded self gets excited by that, but it's like love always wins. It will always win, but are you willing to do what it takes to have love win here in the third dimension on planet Earth at this time? Because it's time to, like, if you answer yes, it's time to start listening to your soul. It's time to start listening to your heart. It's time to embrace the hard initiations. And I got the tools for you on how to work through that. But there's a lot of emotions that come up in that. It's not a fun process. And so, like some people can just decide to never do that kind of work. But the collective of humanity and the survival of the species, ironically, depends on us moving into the very spaces that we have been so desperately avoiding and to open our hearts again. And so I was saying, I'm actually jazzed about the future. I'm so excited about the future. I'm very hopeful about the future because I can see the vision of where we're going as a species. I can see also where we are right now and what kind of timelines we're sowing with all of our decisions and our emotional motivations behind that. And I can also see the vision for the future that is beyond all of that because of the work I do. Um, so I think I'm gonna end the episode here. I know it's like a mixture. Just know that if there's things stirring within you, this is the initiation. It's starting. Like if there's fear or there's like, oh my God, like whatever, like that's part of the initiation. Meet that. Don't turn away from it. It's not gonna happen unless you keep avoiding it. And I don't want to say that in a way of like, okay, if you avoid it, I feel like I'm not trying to be manipulative in any way, shape, or form here. The things we avoid, the energetics will always come back around because that's just the way the energy works. You are you aren't meant to avoid or separate or suppress things in order to move forward. That causes fragmentation, instability. It's unsustainable, right? We move forward with our whole version of ourselves, accepting all parts of us, accepting all emotions, accepting the path of the heart and the soul. That's how we move forward. That's how we create amazing things. And you just gotta kind of walk through that fire to get to the other side. So just if you're in the fire, you're not doing anything wrong. You're actually just purifying your energy, creating a harmonious relationship to yourself, to the world around you, so that we can fucking do amazing things here. And that is such a gift. So you have the choice, right? This isn't, again, I'm not trying to manipulate or pressure you in any way, shape, or form. It is about making a decision from your heart and my soul from one soul to another, just sharing how important it is to me and what I see as the reasoning why it's important for you to choose your heart, but ultimately that choice is yours. And choosing to lean into those initiatory paths, and lean into the hard things so we can work through them once and for all and create something that our souls have been dreaming for and about for a really long time. So this is speaking to you. I have like a 2026 meditative journey. It's 45 minutes long. And again, it'll be, even if you purchase it, you will only be allowed to listen to it until the end of January, and then it goes away because this is like very time sensitive thing. You need to do it now. So even though it's going to be low cost, you do need to do it right now. And so if that's speaking to you, that's available. But also if you're like ready to do the heavy lifting of like, oh, I really want that real satisfaction. I want real love. I want real prosperity. I want real success. In a version that is not just good for me, but is good for everybody. And I want real nervous system balance, that doesn't depend on all these like balanced plates on top of a faltered foundation. Come work with me. I'm gonna open up some mentorship spots, like, because we gotta get this stuff done. Time is a ticking, and this isn't about urgency. Like, this is about just choosing what's important to you, what you value, what is your priority for 2026. And my wish is that your priority comes from your heart and your soul. And I have all the ways to support you in that, but you also do not have to do anything with me at all. Follow what's in your heart. That's the message. Okay. Bye. Happy 2026.